What if time isn't the prison we imagine? Relentless, unyielding. Is it a river we're all bound to follow? Scattered through history, we see cracks in this timeline. People lost in eras not their own. Fleeting visions of tomorrow. Momentary glances into the distant past. One such enigma unfolded in the skies of 1935, where Sir Victor Goddard, a man of logic and valor, flew headlong into a mystery that would haunt him to his final days.
Sir Victor Goddard was no ordinary man. A senior commander in Britain's Royal Air Force, his career was marked by brilliance and bravery. By 1935, Goddard had risen through the ranks, serving as the Deputy Director of Intelligence at the Air Ministry. But that year, one flight would change everything and leave him questioning the very fabric of reality.
Goddard recounts a chilling experience from 1935. It began with a routine flight from Andover, England, to Edinburgh, Scotland.
As he neared his destination, his plane passed over an abandoned airfield in Drem, Scotland. From above, the place was a ghost of its former self. Overgrown with weeds, occupied only by wandering cattle from a nearby farm. Goddard noted it, shrugged it off, and flew off to Edinburgh. A few days later, it was time to return to Andover. Following the same route, Goddard set out unaware that fate, or something stranger, had other plans. As he approached Drem once more, the weather turned sinister. A freak storm engulfed this plain. Goddard described it as unlike anything he'd ever seen. Torrential rain, fierce winds, and clouds glowing an unnatural tinge of yellow. Disoriented, he fought to keep control, climbing higher and higher, desperate to break through to clear skies. But the storm wouldn't let go. Just when it seemed he'd be lost forever, the clouds parted beneath him. Below, there it was, the Drem airfield. Relief washed over him as he escaped the tempest and glided into sunlight. But as he descended closer, his relief turned to disbelief. The airfield, it wasn't the same. Gone was the decay and desolation. The Drem airfield pulsed with life, transformed beyond recognition. Soldiers moved purposely across the grounds, their boots echoing on freshly paved roads. Watchtowers stood tall, manned by figures scanning the horizon. Trucks rumbled past, kicking up dust while mechanics swarmed the tarmac, tools clanging as they worked on planes gleaming under the sun. Aircraft lined the runway. Among them, a sleek new monoplane model Goddard couldn't place, a design unknown to the Royal Air Force of his time. New buildings, sharp and modern, dotted the landscape, their clear lines a stark contrast to the ruin he'd seen just days before. The mechanics wore crisp blue overalls, not the familiar brown that he knew. It was as if he'd stumbled into a different world, where the lonely fields once grazed by cattle had vanished into a tide of steel and motion. before he could make sense of it, Goddard passed over the airfield and was swallowed again by the storm. The dark clouds and pounding rain returned, threatening to tear his plane apart. He wrestled with the controls and finally broke free. With relief, he continued on, landing safely back in Andover. Shaken, he told his friends what he'd seen. Their response? Laughter and skepticism. After all, Drem had been abandoned since 1919, barely touched except by the occasional visiting squadron. An active airfield in 1935? Impossible. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. 4 years later, in 1939, the Royal Air Force reactivated Drem. The overgrown airstrip was resurfaced, transforming it into a bustling training base for the number 13 Flying Training School. A new monoplane, the Miles M14 Magister, joined the fleet. Unfamiliar to Goddard in 1935, but standard by 1939. And the mechanics? Their brown overalls were swapped for blue. Everything Goddard had seen in that fleeting moment had come true. From that day on, Sir Victor Goddard was never the same. Convinced he'd glimpsed the future, he became obsessed with the paranormal. Had he slipped through time during that storm? Was it a vision, a glitch in reality, or something more? Decades later, his story still haunts us, a mystery that lingers in the skies above Drem.